For those who are listening and also those who are watching via YouTube, I want to take just a few moments and do some nuggets from my book, This Season of Angels. We've had some questions that have come up, and we figured the best way to answer those would be to answer them from the question based on what people are reading. I want to talk about angels and national leaders. And in the book of Daniel, chapter 10, Daniel tells a story of how the Babylonians were overthrown by the Medes and Persians, and Darius the Mede was the very first leader of the empire that actually overthrew the Babylonians. And you can read that in the book of Daniel, the night of the party, the handwriting on the wall. All of that is the scenario of what I'm speaking of. But there's a really interesting verse because in Daniel chapter 10, Daniel has been on a 3-week fast and has no answer from God, so he's seeking God for an answer, and he finds out when the angel of the Lord comes that a prince of the kingdom of Persia, that's the spirit that was over the nation of Persia that has moved over into Babylon, restrained the angel of the Lord for 21 days, and God had to send Michael the archangel to bind up the prince over Persia so that the angel Gabriel, we believe it was Gabriel, could come and bring the revelation to the prophet Daniel. There is a verse, however, in Daniel 11:1 that I want to read, and this is on page 12 of the book. Gabriel revealed, I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. Now, this is speaking about Darius the Mede, the very first year that he was the king, new king in the area of Babylon, and the Medo-Persian Empire taken over. The angel of God says that whole first year, I strengthened him. The NIV translates this as, in the first year, I took my stand to support and protect him. Scholars believe that the angel of the Lord protected Darius from men in his administration who would have convinced him not to allow the Jews to return, especially with their temporal wealth. After the Medo-Persian army overthrew Babylon, Darius promoted Daniel to the first of 3 presidential positions, which angered some of the king's men. So they encouraged the king to sign a law against prayer, yet Daniel ignored the decree, praying anyway, leading to the arrest and death of by those men being thrown in the lion's den. Now, let me explain this to you. The point is that first year that Darius the Mede was in charge, he put a Jew named Daniel over a very high section of the empire, and some of the administrative men under Darius the Mede were jealous. So what they did, they passed a law, as you remember, that you couldn't pray to the God of, let's say, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the case of Daniel. And so they threw him in the lion's den, and we know that story, how the outcome was. My point is, the angel of God had to stay one entire year, and once again, we believe it was Gabriel, one entire year in the atmospheric area over ancient Babylon, where the Medes and Persians now dwelt, because there would have been men in the administration, especially after the treatment of Daniel, there would have been men in the administration of Darius the king who would have probably tried to hinder the Jews from taking their temple treasures back. If you remember, there was a decree made that the Jews were able to take their treasures back to Jerusalem, and they would have stopped the process. And we do know that if we read the book of Zechariah, that Satan is on the Temple Mount area in Jerusalem where the Jews are trying to rebuild the temple, and he's resisting what is going on in the rebuilding process. Angels of the Lord go with particular world leaders. We can find the angels of the Lord brought judgment against leaders. Herod, for example, in Acts 12, the angel of God smote him, the angel of judgment. We talk about that when we talk about the angels of God. But my point is that we should ask God for angelic assistance for our leaders who believe in him and who trust him. And many times I believe that angels become involved in situations, but only after God's people intercede and pray. So the bottom line is, angels are available to assist leaders, even national leaders, but there must be, as Daniel, men and women of God who intercede and pray to initiate a process of which God will release his authority through the angel of God in a particular situation. And I hope that you, if you have not got this book yet, This Season of Angels, this is my most recent book. You can get it right now on Amazon, or you can contact our ministry, either way. And I believe that this book is one of the best books the Lord ever gave me. I wrote it in 2.5 weeks, which has never happened. And I would get up and go to my office and get downloads and see things in Scripture that I had never heard preached in 40 years. and I want to teach those to you. So thank you for joining me. We have other special YouTube videos from the studio here that we're going to be presenting to you. So thank you for listening to me, and thank you today for joining me.